The Creator is built in. If it's accepted, then it's realized. And it may go through 1,000 doubts, it may go through 1,000 belief systems of rage and anger, and then hope, and then the idea of failures measured against successes. You're going to take a journey of truth. Do not be afraid of you, because you will only know more of you. And then as that worthiness builds, without maintenance, because it's the natural you, a singular creator, an unmeasured, untainted, untethered God, present in the moment of I am, well then there's nothing else known that can ever diminish your light any longer. And then all of those things of human were experiences of that of just knowing yourself. And then you're on to the next adventure. We have forever. Take your time.
You are now listening to the Soul and Wonder Podcast, episode 72. You Are God with Roxanne Swainhart.
Welcome to the Soul and Wonder Podcast, where the conduits of the body, depths of the mind, and atlas of the soul are explored with devotion. Through cultural exchange, Christopher and Sarah and their guests will deliver sacred wisdom from around the globe, uncovering the hidden gems of conscious living and holistic healing, all to empower you on your journey of self-discovery. And now, here are your hosts, Christopher and Sarah.
Hello, everybody. Christopher and Sarah here, welcoming you back to another episode of the Soul in Wonder podcast. Every other week, we bring you new interviews with world-renowned thought leaders and authors to support you in your personal growth and spiritual evolution. Whether you're a newbie or a longtime listener, we are happy that you've decided to join us for another jam-packed, wisdom-filled episode. And today we have Roxanne Swainhart. We are so excited to bring her on for a live channeling. But before we dive into that, we want to remind you to make sure that you subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, as well as on YouTube. And of course, if you love what you hear, please leave us a review and share with your friends and family.
Some of you have possibly heard of Roxanne before. Some of you have not. And let me tell you, she's such a pleasure to share space with. We had a blast on this live channeling session. Roxanne is what you would call a conscious channel, meaning she's aware of what's passing through as she's channeling this information from higher consciousness. Her greatest passion is to channel different entities and to share this wisdom with the rest of humanity. And these entities definitely have some amazing bits of wisdom to co-create with those who are experiencing the channeling in that moment. Her awakening happened back in 2010. Prior to making her transition from Roy into Roxanne, she was living the life that everybody told her she had to live. She grew up in a Christian family, attended college, joined the army soon after, got married, and then eventually went into car sales, where she was making well over 6 figures. So, her life seemed well put together from the surface, but from inside she began to feel increasingly uncomfortable with living within the image and construct of being Roy, the successful working man, putting in 80+ hours per week. And in 2010, she finally made the transition and began choosing her own truth and joy above her pain and dependencies on money and security. Now, eventually, Roxanne stumbled across the infamous Abraham Hicks and Bashar works, where she immersed herself into their teachings. And one day, during meditation, she began using her imagination to reach out and have a conversation with the Hathors, which is a group of interdimensional, intergalactic beings who were connected to ancient Egypt through the temples of the goddess Hathor. She started getting small streams of feedback, which evolved into incredible full-blown dialogues with a variety of different entities. And since she started channeling in 2013, phenomenal pieces of information have been delivered that have transformed her perception of reality, abundance, and our relationship to others. This is the gift that she wants to share with you. So Roxanne's message to the world is to choose yourself. Always choose your joy in the moment and know that you are God. And this may seem too simple for some people to accept, but as long as you choose your joy instead of your pain, while remaining in a state of allowance, you will allow your higher self to present different potentials into your reality that your physical mind would never be able to comprehend due to its limiting belief structure. And basically, that's the central theme of this interview, is that you are God. And Roxanne, wow, she brought in like what? Five plus?
Yeah, it was a bunch of different characters involved in this episode, which I'm sure you're going to find quite helpful, amusing, and just wonderful to be surrounded by all of these energies. And of course, there may be some skeptics out there that don't really know much about channeling or have their preconceived notions about channeling. But please try to approach this episode with a beginner's mind. I know that could be hard to do sometimes, but this one was pretty jam-packed.
And remember, if you've aligned with the reality in which this interview exists, then on some level you are open to receiving this information, no matter where you may fall on that spectrum of belief. And all I want to say is have fun with it. Have fun with this. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Just tap into your joy as Roxanne channels these beings and have fun. Just explore. This is one of our favorite interviews as far as playfulness is concerned. And what amazing information too that's being delivered that you already know. You already know this deep down inside of you. And we talk about that in the interview, about how this is truth within you. You're just aligning with it, presented to you in a different way. So have fun with the interview, and we'll touch base at the end. Welcome back, everybody. We're really excited. We've got Roxanne with us, and we've already started having a really good conversation off the record. And so we just hit that record button to bring you guys in so that we don't go down rabbit holes without you. Roxanne, thank you so much for joining us on our podcast.
You're welcome, and thank you for the invite, most certainly.
Absolutely. We first saw you on Ruben's show,
Interviews with Extra Dimensionals,
which I highly recommend
on Gaia TV.
Yeah, anybody who's listening, definitely check that out. He has lovely guests on there with some incredible channeling sessions to bring wonderful wisdom to the listeners. And we really just fell in love with you, Roxanne. The authenticity, the rawness, your ability and willingness to bridge the gap, if it's even perceivably a gap, but to really just be that medium, that channel for this information to flow to people in a way that is relatable, understandable, but also challenges them to get out of their comfort zone and to think about things from a wider perspective. And so we're really happy to have you.
I love the way you put that. That was exceptional. Very good.
She's very elegant.
Yes, she is. Yeah.
I'll take it. So, Roxanne, though, before we open this up for other entities to speak their minds, we have a couple questions for you personally. We align with your perspective as well, that whatever reality you're experiencing is because you are an energetic match for that experience. And, you went through quite a few transformations, quite a few purges and cleanses and openings to go from where you used to be to where you are now. And I want to ask a kind of complex question. What was it exactly within your internal reality that you constructed, that allowed you to make space and align with the experience of becoming a channel? Or in other words, how did you become that energetic match for the realities that you're experiencing as a channel that delivers this higher dimensional wisdom to humanity?
I think the best way to say it is when you live a life of not you. And let me put that in perspective. We are born into an idea of personality constructions. If you're born in India, you have a cultivating idea of a culture that's coveted every day by a child, and you grow up in that idea. And then maybe, if of course you're born in Canada, if you're born in the Cape Town, or you're born in the United States, if in the United States, where you're born, and what is your religion, and what is your culture, and you build these personalities. And I was born in a typical Republican. My dad's from Akron, Ohio. My mom's Greek household with a brother, competitive house, Republican house. Nothing wrong with Republican point of view, blah, 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 whatever. But what it was not me. And when I started realizing I could not wear the masks anymore, wear the performance anymore, be that idea of a go-getter, successful, always dying for the external validation through others, whether they're employers or people that I love or people I place my love in as a dependency, I realize I can't do that anymore. And the discovery of an infant persona that lies within all of us, behind the masks, beneath the ideas of the obligations and responsibilities to the human collective norms, lies a creator, a forgotten self, a self that doesn't need to be honed or constructed. It needs to be released and allowed. And then you become your you. And the you isn't a who, it's a what. It's a creator. And so when I first started waking up, and the waking up wasn't the spiritual, it was leaving the idea of being I was born a physical male, but I've always had the attributes of femininity inside of me. I love the feminine side of things. And of course, I'm listening to my conversations and the way I acted, and my dad and parents saying, don't be like that. That's not manly. Or, and I was always performing, but then I couldn't do it. And I always had this little girl in me, and you have to hide her and put her away. And then you have to become a man and become an image. And, I have 3 ex-wives. For God's sakes, I have a set of ex-wives. Can you believe that? That's just that's a lie. That's a lie. But it wasn't a lie. It was a truth of my personality constructed to perform like a monkey to the idea of the collective, so I can be accepted, because I was never, ever, 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 ever taught how to love me as is. I had to love me for reasons. I had to love me for decrees, for diplomacies, for the ideas of diplomas or accomplishments. And that's a human idea, and it's wonderful. Yeah, man, go get your education. Go be great. Go get that job. Go. But not me. I just couldn't do it. So I stopped in 2010. I just stopped. I just stopped being that image. I walked away from a $150,000 a year car job, lots of money, lots of things, all that shit that just keeps you in the ideology of accepted. And I said no more. And I awoken. And the awakening wasn't in the context of definition. It was in self-awareness. That's what I consider awakening. It's not awakening to the spirituality and all the ideas of the definitions that keep you distracted. It is the idea that I am, the true I am, and realize that persona within, and I start letting Roxanne out. I named her Roxanne because my third ex-wife goes, you have a built-in girl's name. And I said, what is it? And she goes, Roxanne. And I said, Roy to Roxanne, middle name Michael. Hey, let's give it Michelle. And it kind of worked out, So I was like, yeah, I mean, I could have been Isabel too, but I just, picked Roxanne. It felt right. So anyways, so I let this idea out, and I grew into this self, and I went through the battles of that and the fears, the absolute terror it is to walk outside in a non-passable transgender 43-year-old male body with Italian and Greek hair growing out of my chest in a 5 o'clock shadow at 3 o'clock was rough. But I couldn't do it because I had a choice. I had to keep being the clown or be myself. And the clown, of course, is accepted, but for internally, it's death. At a certain point, you can't deny the truth of you at a certain ideology of life. You can keep it down, you can stifle it, you can mediocrity yourself, And you can find ways of distracting. You can drink yourself into oblivion. You can get stoned 3 ways from Wednesdays to escape from the isness of yourself. I'm not saying people do that for those reasons. There's a million reasons why they find these ideas, different awarenesses through I guess catalysts is the best way to say it. But whatever it is, I couldn't do those things anymore, and I had to bring me out. And I took the journey, and during that, I was connecting with Roxanne, and then spirituality started coming into my awareness through a meditation. I had a meditation group that I found, and they were speaking about you create your own reality. And I had read a little bit of Jiddu Krishnamurti, JK, and read some of his stuff, so I was open to it. And they introduced me to Bashar and Abraham and Cryon and Ramtha through J.Z. Knight, and just different ideologies. And Rob Gauthier, Nora Harold, Wendy Kennedy, Daniel Scranton, all these ideas were coming into my life, and I was like, wow, this is so, man, it was like right as rain, and there was a connection with it. And someone says in my head, told me this thing. It says, hey, and I said, hey, who the hell are you? Because it was a voice. Now we all have voices in our head. We have our voice, the voice of reason that goes, oh, no, you can't do that, they might not like you. Oh, but you need to do that because you need to make sure that you don't piss them off. We have that voice. Then we also have that little voice of passion that says, yeah, go ahead, take a chance on yourself. You deserve life. And they're both the same perspective. They just run through different filters, I think. But this voice was different. It was a deeper voice. It was like, hey, and I was like, hey, how are you? I'm good. And I was like, okay. So no straight jackets, isn't anything weird. I'm okay, right? And yeah, you're good. I said, do you feel, and he goes, do you feel good? I said, I feel great. He goes, all right, let's continue to talk. So he goes, you've been watching channeling, you've been doing this. Do you want to learn how to channel? And I said, yeah. And I had got some background on channel. It's just frequency vibrational matches, like tuning into a different radio station. If I want to listen to classic rock, I tune into 106.7. If I wanted to go to Jack FM, I go to 102.7, and I get different radio stations. So I change my frequency, and it's not done through effort or cleansing or clearing or grounding or kibbles and bits and processes and mantras. For me, it was allowance, complete naked allowance, because if I'm already a creator, then what do I have to do to make it happen? I have to let go of what I think has to happen and allow the natural self. So I connected and started channeling, and then my channeling started to change over the years through truth of me. I call it a journey of truths because you discover so many truths about you, and then at one time the truth is no longer valid. You let go. You keep climbing the ladder of realization, ascension, whatever you want to call it. And my channeling's changed, and I love it. And it's been a journey since 2010 is when I transitioned, 2013 when I started channeling, 2019 I'm still rocking the reality and the way of complete allowance, and following my passion every moment, and finding things in myself that are no longer my truths, maybe a belief systems of a social norm or a covet from a friend passing that I thought was true, and then realize, the anger that I have is not them, it's me. The disgust I have in another is not to them. They're performing unconditional reality that I'm conditioning with my beliefs. So I use creation as a sounding board to realize myself, and wherever this journey takes me, it's endless, and it's going to keep taking me, and I'm going to just keep doing it. So that's how the channeling started, in the idea of not jumping in and waking up as a spiritual world. It started when I started realizing the person inside of me was ready to be that person, and I had a choice. I could have kept being the idea of the other person, but I was really starting to hate myself. And then you always think about suicide when you do that. And it's like, really, I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. I can't be honest. I can't do this. You have these things. And then you got all these doctors and of course, parents and people and social norms telling you wrong, and they base it on some Bible idea verse, and that's relative for 2,000 years. What about all the people 10,000 years ago? What, are they all in purgatory because they never got a JC in the boys in their picture? Bullshit. I couldn't buy it anymore. So I stopped. I stopped believing in the fear, and I started believing in myself, and then I got a knowing. And when that knowing came into a realization, it was absolutely unchallengeable. There's no justification for my isness any longer. There's no justification for my action. There's no defending it. There's no creed of promise to be. I am. And you follow that, and you realize that that you let that person out, and whatever that person is, it doesn't match anyone else's singularity. It's not comparable. It's not measurable. It is creation in and of itself, which is untainted, untethered, raw, unbounded. We are, if we're really creators, then we can't create under guidance. We are, and we're not less or more. We are the equum of our own individual singular truth that says go, because every time you guys express, and whatever way you do, I become more. Because your expression is a point of view of truth. It can't be false, because existence is true. All existence is true. All of non-existence is false. So the false that we create is a measurement against an idea of a norm. Murder is bad, according to the norm. Murder is unconditional, according to the idea of creation. Choose. It's up to you. So you get these ideas of relative points of view within you, and you start to see that truths are true in the eye of the beholder. That wonderful little passage that eked through the ideas of the editors of Constantine's writers that edited the Bible and stuff. Truth is in the eye of the beholder. The kingdom of heaven lies within. It's not externalized. It's mine. It's me. I am the I am that they speak of. So, okay. So I start to do that, and I start to bring out this self that says, follow this truth. It's not the truth of that conformity. It's not the truth of them. And they, Roxanne, are their own truth. And you love them for their unconditional, because without it, I don't get to see the possibility of creation. Why do I have to keep everything on the positive side of things? What's wrong with the negative side? Negative is not negative until the eye of the beholder perceives it as negative. One man's trash is another man's treasure. So this journey is tearing me apart. It's ripping up everything that I believed in, everything that hurt, everything that kept me in pain, everything that kept me in prison, to find what? Me that doesn't need anything, that is. It doesn't need validation. It doesn't need a resume. Me that says I am because I've been chosen to exist. Law 1. I'm on the existence side of things, and everyone receiving these words right now is as well. Everyone in non-existence is not non-existence, and they're not anyone. They're no thing. They're not having an experience. We are chosen to exist. And you know what? Just real quick, you don't need to be grateful for being chosen to exist, because you chose yourself. If you look at the law of all are one and one are all, it's God choosing God in an idea of a singular point of view. That's all. The difference is our point of view. That's what gives us the all are one, one are all. So God created God, and we're all gods. We're all creators. We're all individual singularities. And if that's not priceless, I don't know what is, because I get to be forever, and so is everyone else. And whatever you do, you perform the truth of things. And if I have a conditioned experience about it, that's my bullshit, my belief system, not theirs. I hold no one in contempt for finding their way in the most exceptional master class of ascending a species that does not know it is connectivity. And we chose it, all of us, humans. We are the masters. That is true. Go ahead.
This is precisely why I asked you that question, because you have a prime example to share through your experience, that your channeling journey, your realities you're preferring to experience now, are a direct reflection of the inner freedom, inner acceptance, and allowance that you cultivated. And that your story there is so powerful to be that example for others who think that they're imprisoned by their, external reality, that they've forgotten that they are in fact creating it. And I'm really excited that you brought it that direction, especially because some of the questions that we would eventually like to ask other entities are kind of along those lines.
Along that line, sure.
And boots on the ground, kind of approach to help people realize their power and awaken to this. Chris has a question for you real quick.
Well, and before I ask the question, I do want to add, I think what really drew Sarah and I to your work is your openness to express, and your openness to express with no apologies, and to challenge everything. And that is so admirable. And that's something that Sarah and I are constantly questioning every single day. And so that is magnificent in so many ways. And so, one, I want to thank you for going all through all of that. The possibilities. It's
exploration.
Booyah.
It's amazing.
Well, thank you, Chris.
You're welcome. And secondly, I guess leading into my question, who predominantly comes through your channelings, and how do they determine who would like to speak at what time?
Well, I don't think it's a determination. At some particular point when I started to channel, I thought there was kind of a process, and there was, because that was my point of view, that was my truth. But after I ascended those truths and realized it's just the truth in the moment that can't be any better or any worse by choosing, being in total acceptance of the vibration that matches, is how it's done now for me. I mean, at the beginning, I had Osiphus, and Osiphus is this wonderful being, and a point of view, a singularity, and he came through and would kind of guide me and give me, the discernment between different vibrational entities or spirits, call it what you will, that would come in and says, okay, this is a species that is not in the idea of the vibratory third density, and it's a fourth density being, and it's called this, and here's how they feel. And he gives me a connection because, I'm taking baby steps here, and plus I have an immense amount of doubt and fear in my mind that's echoing in the background as the egoic structure that's still present, but still trusting and validating the idea of my journey, and he would help me, guide me through it in the idea of my personal experience. And the one thing that I learned real quick, Chris, is it's not about a purpose. I'm not here to do it for you guys. I'm here to represent the experience of what is potentialized in you as your own choice. It's not about the outcome that I'm doing. It's about me discovering myself through my truths. And whatever truth that is the moment idea of allowance as well as chosen. So when I express my truth without any idea of tainting it with the ideas of fear, or bringing a slant in it and taking the colors brighter to dimmers because I'm afraid for external acceptance, when I stay true to myself, then I get the experience of discovery, and that is potential. My idea behind light bearers, light workers, is not someone that flashes a light in someone's eyes and screams, "Wake up." Those are preachers.
Mm-hmm.
We've had enough preachers. What we need are lighthouses. So I sit steady on the shore, and I shine my light, and those who see the light shepherd their way in and get their own light. We enlighten others. We enlighten our own paths through encouragement, through the idea of representation, not the idea of a leader to follower. We don't need any more leaders. We don't need any more followers. Each individual singularity in the age of Aquarius is their own idea, their own I am. We had the age of Pisces, as above as below, the Christ conscience idea to give God, our internal ideas, representation of a creator within us, instead of, in the age of Abraham, God was apart from you and you couldn't get to God. And now God's in you through the acceptance of Jesus the Lord idea. And guys, this is just an idea. It's something for people to do. It's not a valid truth until you validate it. So I understand the symbolism of it, the Christ conscious, so you can move into the isness. And now we're in the idea of we are. So I represent me as my fullest. And the only thing that does is not get people to follow me, mimic me, or copy me, but to find the courage inside of them, despite the fears. And you're going to be scared. You're going to be scared shitless, because you're going to find everything about you that's no longer you. To let go of that means you're naked, vulnerable, with no purpose, meaning, or outlook. You just are a simple I am, with no decree of building up and falling in love with the existence of you. And that is what I offer by representing me. And it's real easy being me. It's just extremely effortless to fall in love with yourself. But it's painful to choose because you have the rhetorics of value. Who's valuable? My mom, my dad, my brother, people around me, even the spiritual world. And I'm not conforming to the idea of doing rituals and not getting criticized. I can't do that. I got to be me and represent, hey, everyone, you're a singularity built on the idea of an individual singularity, created equal as that. Go rock your world without regret, without hesitation, and be the creator that you are. That's the idea. And of course, when we all pass the plane, and whether we choose to push up daisies or ascend, it doesn't really matter. You all go back to I am. Everyone goes home. And there's nothing more exceptional than that. So relax. We are forever. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
That makes perfect sense, and it reminded me a lot of a central message in Paul Selig's book, The Book of Freedom, a channeled text, where they mention what you said really stuck out. We don't need more leaders or followers. We just need representation of truth, of inner truth and authenticity. And it's a message that has truly moved me as well in my growth and peeling back my own layers and looking at what is still untruth in my being and how, and it's such a beautiful journey of just pulling back and exploring. And it, like you said, it can be painful, but it can be exciting at the same time. You can love
it's exhilarating.
You can love the discomfort. In fact, we put ourselves into discomfort on purpose.
Right when we get to that point of feeling too comfortable, all right, it's time to go again.
How can we stir this shit up,
Let's rip it up and find out what else is underneath that.
How fun. We're here to explore that. And thanks for bringing that there.
Sure.
If you feel comfortable at this time to allow any entities to
never not feel comfortable with channeling.
Well then.
Well, on the idea of channeling that you kind of hinted at, Chris, earlier, it's not really determined, but you can make requests.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There's an intuition about you, and the moment is alive. The moment is not set in time. We create time in the now by validating time.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we create time. Time is, okay, here's what time it is. But truly, it's just now. It's like the second law. Everything is here and now. So when we're now, it's the moment. You grasp the moment, you seize your idea, intuition, you speak your mind, and we bring an entity in, and there's like, this just popped into my head out of the blue, is what we always say. Out of the blue, yeah, okay. And so if you have an idea that comes along, don't hesitate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Sounds great.
Wonderful.
Do you have questions for the entities too, right? They're telling me, right?
We do.
Yep. Good.
Yeah, we have a loose blueprint, but
a loose blueprint. Perfect.
Probably intuitively ask as it flows for more clarification. We may or may not ask all the questions as well. So I know that whoever comes through at this point in time is exactly as it needs to be to respond to the questions that perhaps we do have.
Of course.
So perhaps I could ask you the first question and see who feels like.
Go ahead.
So to whichever being or entity chooses to communicate with us now, why is it important to you or relevant per se to communicate with the human collective at this point in our existence and evolution?
Greetings to you. Now listen now, child. It is not our purpose to connect with you. It is our passion. I'm not here to give you something of measure, of something of gain, of something of worth, so you can have an experience. What it is in and of itself, if you remember your Marcus Aurelius, my friend, keep things simple. What does that mean, child? It means the simplicity of connectivity is all you need, and that experience then is truth in the eye of the beholder, in the eye of the beholder, then translates and has a little tiny experience of the now, and life marches on forever. So, what are we saying? We're not here to talk to you. We're here to commune with you in the ideology of an untainted moment with no preference of direction. Then we get the rawness of the reality, and we go beyond the idea of expectations and hope and the idea of outcome, which is only a dumbed down version of yourself based on the idea of predicated past that references in the moment of your memory created. And in that memory created in the moment, that would be the scope of reality of your experience. But if you release that, Master, then you can go beyond yourself and understand that we're not here for you. We're here because Roxanne is open, and therefore she gets an unmeasured amount of connectivity that matches the frequency, and therefore we're having an experience. So I'm here for me. So you have questions?
What you use the word passion. It is your passion to commune at this moment.
But remember now, passion is an idea that's a human term so you can understand your choices. We are passion built in. We don't have relative thought about an action to take an action of degree of, let's say, effort or non-effort. We are not even aware of ourselves as an idea of an object. Remember humans now, Master. You understand yourself as not a God, not a creator. You have objectified your universe. I am here, that there is not me, not me, not me. I have labeled that the sun. I have labeled that the tree. I have labeled that the dolphin. I have labeled that plastic. I have labeled that a murderer. I have labeled that mom. I have labeled that a country, a flag, a person other than me. I am not. So you have been objectified. So in that ideology, objects need to be defined, so therefore they're separated. So you create the separation idea, and you forget the idea of connectivity, that these are truly subjective extensions of yourself. So whatever's in your reality is truly what is a vibrational match of attraction for you to have an experience. And so now you look at those things as an untainted eye, and you get the vibrational, unfiltered version of vibration. Remember your idea of Tesla and what's his name? Albert? Yeah, that's Mr. Einstein. That if you want to understand the universe, then you must start thinking in frequencies and vibration. So when you understand vibration that comes in complete allowance and nakedness, not in objectivity, then you're going to have a different experience with reality that's going to be from a subjective point of view, giving you an experience beyond the measured idea of humanity. So when you understand yourself as a whole being instead of an objectified idea, then you're going to start to see reality, interpret reality. Remember your Seth 101. You're going to have a different relationship with reality, and therefore you're going to have a different experience, although the scenario is the same. You're still on Earth, you're still a human, there's still a tree, but you commune with the tree in a different way. Not as the hippie tree huggers that were trying to idea domain purpose and all of a sudden get everyone to love each other through an idea of a process, which is the same degree of lack because it has purpose and it has an outcome. So you have means that you're not enough, and you have to start hugging trees or saving the whales or going on pink walks for breast cancer. Those are all human ideas, but they're all the ideas of betterment of the human, which is an object. So the object stays the object instead of subjective, and start seeing the reality in a different point of view. Pardon us for babbling, but that is very relative. Go back to your question. Go ahead, child.
It's relevant too, because seeing the human as separate, the experience as something separate from human.
Yes.
Although it's not.
It's a point of view. Right. Very good, Master. Very good.
You know, what you mentioned is so important for us to remember. And so it was very relevant to the question, in the sense that maybe the way I'm interpreting this might be slightly off, or
no, it can't be off with you. My God, you are a creator. You are never off. Only your ego perceives it as off. So now recognize the ego, transcend it by accepting it, and say, wow, I'm off because my ego says I've recognized a portion of me that's no longer me. Thank you, ego. I love you for being noticeable. Now I can transcend it by accepting it, and now I am not off. Go on, Master, speak your master truth.
would it be accurate then to say that your choice to commune with the human collective at this point in time is because you enjoy having that experience?
It's because I am a vibrational match with no intention, which is almost insane to the human, because then nothing gets done, does it?
Because then enjoyment or lack of enjoyment, there is no tap.
Very good.
It just is.
It just is.
You're here with us right now because we just are.
Right. I mean, what's wrong with me? Nothing. What's wrong with you? Oh, nothing. What are you to me? Absolutely priceless. I am interacting with a vibration of not experiencing. Ever in my idea, I'm sequential-taneously, always unknown into known into the unknown in the moment. I am always more without knowing I'm always more, because I don't need to know what I've known. That's memory, because the now is always giving me in the idea of vibrational attraction. And now this experience is priceless, as it is in the idea of continuation. I am not aware, again, of purpose, of meaning, of intention. I am, and I am now, and that's all I ever need, because how can you get any better than all that is forever? Through measurement, of course. What is measurement? Human democracy of importance. It is important to have a job. It is important to be successful. It is important to have an education. It is important to be healthy. So the entire decree of humanity shuns the idea of negativity, all the idea of the plastics, as I think your most current of fashion, because the sea turtles sneezed up a straw, and all of a sudden these turtles are dying. They're not dying. They're not dying. They're living. And when they die in the physical form, they live, and they keep living, and the plastic is alive, and it keeps living. It transcends. Nothing ever in all of creation goes to non-existence, because we are all in existence. If 1 ounce, 1 sliver of non-existence disappears into, or rather existence disappears into non-existence, we all go. And we don't even know we're gone. Holy crap.
Man.
So now let's look at the idea of importance in measurement. That's how the human conducts its affairs. Of course. Why? Because it doesn't know its connectivity. All right, everyone, let's all imagine for a second, if you will. Yes, of course. Stand by. Well, sometimes that entity just babbles on and on. Now, okay, I would like you all to imagine, if you will, just for a moment, in the idea of I'm a creator, for imagine now, remember, this is a permission slip. It's not real, so you all can play in the reindeer games with me. Thank you. Imagine that you're connected. And that connectivity is forever and ever and ever. In one fell swoop, poof, nothing. You have no vacuum. No resistance, no inertia. There is nothing to give you relative awareness. You are empty. You are at the verge of non-existence existence. And then you covet. You covet vibration, moms, dads, cultures. And then you realize yourself. Can you imagine what it was like when a human never realized connection for that one scary moment? And the entire collective tries to make those things objectified as truths, as personalities built upon the constructs of others' blueprints. Your castles are built upon time. So in those ideologies, my masters, you see the externalized ideas are the truths of importance that give you need, want, desire, purpose, outcome, measurements. And then you measure against your brethren, against people. You compare. You give advice. You lead to the positive. You avoid the negative. You escape from yourselves in the quantum ideas of current nows forever until you realize I am and you return home. So, in the idea of humanity, my master class, realize that the connectivity is always present, but the awareness of that has been skewed by the belief systems that you are not an idea of a creator, that you are playing some victim to some asswipe that ate an apple, and therefore you have to live under the decree of less than, a jealous God, an angry God that says, you, my own children, have to love me and worship me so your worth is returned. And we have coveted that belief for time beyond measure. And now the great awakening is happening, and realizing that you are enough as is, masters. So this idea of separation, this idea of self that is personalized by the construct of mommy and daddies and teachers and others, it is not that idea of negative that you have coveted. It is what you were, but is not what you are, and what you are is the journey to remember and connect to again, and realize that person of emptiness is now fulfilled from the kingdom within. This is all we have to say. I have another idea coming in. Stand by. You know, it's quite interesting. Oh, and when it opens up like this and just goes somewhere. Do you know what a fairy is?
A fairy?
Yeah.
Depends on the...
Oh, good. I got someone with an actual mind instead of running to the references of a little idea pixie lover or a sprite lover. A fairy is something completely not what you believe it is. Oh, yeah, we're mischief. So, what are we? What are fairies? Are fairies figments of your imagination, just like your childhood friend? No, we're real. Everything is real. Everything is a frequency, a way of tuned. And the only reason why you don't see, feel, touch, smell, and experience fairies, aliens, extraterrestrials, which, by the way, is the DNA difference between aliens and extraterrestrials, for you guys taking notes. The idea of fairies are right in the presence. We are indigenous to the planet. You guys are the aliens, truly. Yeah, you guys didn't come out of a pool of green goo. You want to believe that, though, because that's the fad. But anyways, fairies. So why did we come in? Why? Because we want you to stop labeling us as of good. Tinkerbells. We're not Tinkerbells. That's a pixie. Pixies have dust. That's why you guys have pixie dust. Fairies don't have dust. We're not dusty at all. We are very mischievous, clean, green, tall, short, fat, skinny, and stuff like that. And we live right there with you all the time. We're only a vibration away. It is like a half step of frequency. And it's realized when you start, I don't know, accepting yourself, I guess. But you can't try to get to us. But how can we possibly be known? Did someone make us up? Is it just a figment of the imagination? Is it folklore? So maybe I'm just here to tell you one thing and one thing over. Every single thing you've ever thought of is a reality. I'll say it again. Every single thing you thought of is a reality. Because there's no false and true. So Star Wars exists, yes. Fallout 4, one of Roxy's games, is a relative reality of truth. You think it's all a game. No, we are creators of games, masters.
And how much power does individual reality have over the collective experience, or is the collective experience...
Power over. Nothing has power over. Each individual is creating its own 360-degree bubble every day.
Mm-hmm.
This is no longer the idea of the fairy, Buford. Greetings to you. You can call me Ichabod. How are you?
Doing well.
Hello.
Hello. So no one has power over another. You want to have power because a role of human is to play victim. You are victim to restless leg syndrome. You are victim to the idea of another telling you you are sick and you have to be sick so you can have an experience. It's not right or wrong. It is. Once you start to see each individual singularity chooses their own reality, and by accepting those idea vibrations becomes the experience of truth, and therefore it marches on. When you are the idea of other realities, it is a vibrational barrier to keep you from experiencing those realities in the here and the now. Everything is here and now. It's law 2. Quick review, class. Would you do this for us? Thank you so much. And number 1, you exist. Can't help it. You've been chosen. Get over it. You're forever. Number 2, everything is here and now. Nothing is there and then. There and then is created a relative space-time continuum with the occurrence of time as a measurement point, thank you, Roxanne, of start and finish, or beginning and end. And in that, you can have there and then with the space-time location. You guys are in a space-time. Look around. Don't you have space between here and there? So you can create the relative of there and then through here and now. Number 3. The idea of what you put out, what you get back. Now, this is a tricky one for the Abrahamsters out there. So you Abrahamsters think the mirror is a cause and effect, as well as some of the Basharians. It's cause and effect. It's not. You attract a negative idea to you. There is no negative idea until you perceive it as negative. Truth lies in the eye of the beholder. It is the vibration of unconditional reality, and you perceive it what it is. So what is attracted is your truth, your vibrational frequency of worth. In the idea of humanity, you are born unworthy. In the idea of collective polarity, it is unworthy to be a human, and you have to gain respect. You have to prove your wares. You have to go to school. You have to be smart. And the ones that can't cut it are left in the idea of blue-collar workers that you guys are, or serfs or tariffs or slaves or homeless or kibbles and bits, and you're not on the good side of things or the positive or successful or the envious side. It doesn't matter. It's just a game of polarity, and it's all perfect. It's just a relative point of experience. So now let's look at the idea of that. It is truth that is in your now. There's nothing you can ever do. Reality has never falsified you. You've always been in the truth of yourself and the equum of the match of the now. So just starting accepting it and start seeing the beyond this tainted eyes of human, let's say, belief systems, and then you can see the beauty of reality without conditioning, which is absolutely perfect without your effort to make it perfect. And then number 4 is the one or all and the all are one, and number 5 is change is the only constant except for the first 4 laws. So, hi. What do you got?
I'm so grateful for that bit.
Don't be grateful to your awesomeness. You attracted this. You are too beautiful, too awesome to be gratuitous to another. It's a human habit, nothing wrong with it. But just remember, it doesn't have to be. You can just say thank you when you are. But if it is a trigger, if it is an idea of a reaction, be aware of it. Because I cannot ever repay you for what you are. The more of me by being damn priceless. Go ahead.
How do we release these attachments to
awareness? Have you ever been angry?
Oh, yeah.
So when you're angry, you are angry at something objectified that causes an emotional reaction. So let's look at a situation. In the idea that regards of one man's treasure is one man's trash is another man's treasure. Thank you, Roxanne. So I view a scenario, and you are next to me viewing a scenario. Me and you have different emotional statuses about that because we have different set of belief systems somewhere on the measurement scale of fear and joy. So in that idea prelude, then we look at the idea of the reality and we realize, this situation puts my emotion right off of mediocrity. Not too bad, but pretty crappy. So you feel a little discouraged and you have that experience, and that's all it is. Doesn't mean anything. One moment never ties into the next. There is no timeline. It just is the perfect of the now. Okay, good. So in that idea, you are realizing that you are having a reaction to the unconditional reality, which is a conditioning that you are aware of now. So how do you transcend it, Master? Well, let me tell you. And it is what humans do not like. It is total acceptance of it. Roxanne is the one who is measuring people. When she is mad, it is her belief that gives her the madness. It is not her mom that angered her so much in the idea of always judging Roxanne and never gaining the idea of the parents' love. No matter what Roxanne Roy at the time did to gain the love of the parents, she was never enough, ever, because they lived on never enough. She finally saw that their way to connect to reality is never having it good enough. They can never have a good life because they're in pursuit of a good life. And if they had a good life, they would get what they want, and they can't deserve that worthiness level of want to be the idea of that. So they stay in the idea of the huge cycle of always wanting to have the perfect life. But whenever the life comes in the opportunity of perfection, they can't have it because it means they lose their personality and they can never lose themselves. Are you following? Okay, so in that idea, Roxanne realized that she was angry at the mother targeted as a cause and effect, but it wasn't. It was her belief system that gave her the emotional reaction of that which hurt, extremely painful, to the point of breaking several dishes, smashing several things, screaming at the top of her lungs, putting her hands through fucking windows before, because she hated it. She hated, so she had to accept her hate, her human, beautiful way to experience a no other idea dimension, master, hate, except human has hate. How exceptional is that? So she got hate and accepted hate and embraced hate. And now she can never hate because she is not hate. She is unconditional state of awareness, state of being called love. So there was no more hate because what did she do? She became it. She accepted it as her. It was not her mom, her dad, her teacher, her friends, her job, the weather. It was not them. It was not objects. It was her. The extensions of herself, the way she related, Seth 101 again. Thank you, Master. What you relate to reality is your truth, and that truth was a belief system that she had no idea that did not need to be a truth because she forgot. Everyone forgets. You don't know. You start with a blank slate. You're a wet sponge soaking up the idea of belief systems, creating a personality of separation, and then awakening to that personality and deconstructing it through pure acceptance of the belief as your creation, nobody else's. Nobody else's, mine, my truth, it transcends that. I know all of you have had a point where you've given up on an idea, and as soon as you give up, you have such a release about it. It's like the world is lifted off your shoulders because you're no longer concerned about that ideology having a resolve through the politicals of the human mind. What it is your truth. And when you accept it, you transcend it. Go ahead.
So
yes.
There seems to be a central theme throughout this entire conversation, and that is a dance between surrender, letting go, and acceptance.
Yes.
And
surrender is the process. Acceptance. And again, real quick, surrender is the process. When you see something about you, give into it. Let it go. Surrender doesn't mean you're becoming less. It literally means you're becoming more. Because you're accepting what you're denying about yourself into your heart. And that idea, in the acceptance of it as you, transcends it. Remember, you're an unconditional creator. Your personality is conditioning. When you accept the conditions into the unconditional portion of you, the only thing you're going to do is fall in love with yourself and transcend that conditioned self into an unconditional persona about you. You become more of your natural self. Do you follow, Master? You got that?
Yes.
Okay, continue.
Yes.
Go ahead.
And so once we begin to let go of that, we then are in whatever it is in that moment, we are accepting it and therefore becoming that wholeness that we always were.
Yes.
And are.
Yes. Because if you are whole, what in existence needs to be abolished? What in existence, Master, needs to be aborted? Crime? Hate? Rape? Punishment? No, it's what we are. It's what we can do. We can discover the possibilities of creation. That's why only masters come to humanity. Because no one else can handle it. Because it is a hostile. It is a brutal. It is an absolute exquisite experience of torturous pain to know the hate of ourselves that is truly created from the unconditional world of creation. So when you return it to yourself, as Seth said, all belief systems return to love. If you allow them, transcend them by accepting them, and then realizing those frequencies are the extension of you as unconditional creator. And then you, Master, see those things in a relationship of unconditional. So when someone sees horrendous, you see creation. With no reflection, no echo, not one dance of humanity wears within that palette of your beauty, to ever accept that as a conditioned reality, no matter what it looks like in the frequency of human domain. You are awoken, Master.
For those who really struggle at this point in time to remember the point of creation, these things that seemingly cause them pain, perceivably cause them pain, although we know now and have established that it's strictly internal,
Yes.
can seem oppressive and violent.
Sure.
And,
Yes.
for those who are in the throes of this pain right now, at this point in their lives, who have a hard time wanting to accept the fact that perhaps we are everything, as everything is us, what would you say to them as words of support or encouragement to reawaken to their God self and remember that wholeness that's within them?
Well, in the idea of Roxanne's teachings, she has a theme, and the theme is, I'm enough. I'm enough as is. And then when you live life as passionate truth, the first part is I'm enough. I don't need anything else. I don't need an education unless I passion education. I don't need tomorrow's bill money today, because in the now I am enough. In the now I am enough. And in each now, when the possibility of passion is presented, which is always now, I will choose it. I will be true to myself, no matter what the scenario says. No matter what the people in the externalized world are conforming me to in their demands, I'm enough as is, and I shall discover myself through the truth and passions of my choices. So kind of like these ideas, does this make sense? To be enough and choose your worth in the moment without hesitation can only lead to the discovery of the selves that are no longer passionate you, but are now personalities of old selves that served as an experience for you to know yourself as a creator unconditioned. And those selves are no longer valid. They're no longer comfortable. They're no longer needed. You don't need selves, masks, time, relative relationships of I used to coulds to gain your worth through the ideologies of dependencies. People around you depending on you to be a certain way, and you can't be the conformist anymore. And then you relying on them and trusting them to perform as monkeys for you because you don't know how to love yourself. Erase that. You're enough. And when you are enough in the now, the only thing you're going to do is discover how beautiful you are without relative ideas of accomplishment, outcome, measurement, anything, because you are enough as is. Remember that. How about that? Make sense?
And what's possible when we do remember? How might our lives change?
Your lives are going to change in worth. Let me give you that. They're not going to change in the idea of a suitcase full of money or manifesting big houses and cars, because those are decrees of objects that give you worth. The worth is self-realization. You return your worthiness by choosing your reality, and you frequency change the relationship with reality. Therefore, you attract realities that are differentiations. You're still going to be on Earth for a while until that relative reality is no longer your match, and then you'll leave Earth in whatever way you do. But in that idea of you're here and now, be here and now, accept yourself here and now, and understand that here and now that you are is enough, and that's going to change the relationship, with reality. You're going to start to see people in different light, and those people and the versions of the people are also going to change, and then you're going to notice the little changes of Earth, restaurants in a different place, the time or the color of the roads or the bus schedules will change, or the color of your car used to be blue, but now it's red. I remember I thought it was blue. Weird stuff like that is going to start to change because you attract a new relative reality, but you also are in the space-time continuum, so you have a memory that matches in the same moment. Some things don't exactly match. Sometimes you guys call it the Mandela effect. There's some of that out there, but and that's a kind of a hint towards it. But what it is your change doesn't come in measurable ideas. They come in worthiness and knowing you are more than without the decree of effort. of down the road, of enough now realized, the only thing you're going to do is grow brighter by being you, effortless gods, truly. Make sense?
Makes very much sense. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
It's so simple, although it sounds so complex.
I really have to add here how we went through all of this to come back down to one simple truth and distilled into I am enough.
Oh, yes.
And I am God.
Yes. The Creator is built in. If it's accepted, then it's realized. And it may go through 1,000 doubts. It may go through 1,000 belief systems of rage and anger, and then hope, and then the idea of failures measured against successes. You're going to take a journey of truth. Do not be afraid of you, because you will only know more of you. And then as that worthiness builds, without maintenance, because it's the natural you, a singular creator, an unmeasured, untainted, untethered God, present in the moment of I am, well, then there's nothing else known that can ever diminish your light any longer. And then all of those things of human were experiences of that of just knowing yourself. And then you're on to the next adventure. We have forever. Take your time.
Thank you for that reminder.
Yes. Anything else, Masters?
While my wheels are turning and spinning and absorbing, I feel that what has been said has needed to have been said for us and our audience and those tuning in.
Well, let me give you this. It's not necessarily need. It is potential. You, I, Roxanne, Chris, the world got together for a moment of offering, and we gave, and now people do it. The Sylvester idea, Roxanne channels an entity called Sylvester, Sly they call him, he likens it to an idea of he has an apple orchard. He goes out in the morning, picks his apples, goes up to his property fence line and hangs apples there, and at the end of the day he goes, pulls back what's not as taken. He just offers, and it doesn't matter how many are taken or who takes them. He just offers. So you, I, everyone, get together, we offer, and people take what they will. I don't care what they take. I don't care about you guys. How can I care about something that is forever and perfect and full of unconditional? You are not less than. You don't need guidance. You don't need help. I have no concerns for your well-being. You are a reflection of creation, my masters. Yes.
Beautiful.
So, yes. So we've had enough, you're saying?
I think so. Unless
Wonderful.
you would like to add any more.
Oh, no. You seem to be full. Yeah. There is always more to go, though. Remember that. And this conversation doesn't end just because the broadcast ends. Masters, everyone out there, listen. I am present in every one of you, just like anyone you wish to talk to. You can listen to your mind. You can listen to the intelligence of your mind, the connectivity through the idea of, maybe you can call it a permission slip, your heart. You can even call it a heart chakra if you want to use that device, sure. And then connect to the intelligence of all that is. And the vibration will speak a truth, and just accept it. Doesn't need to be proven that you're talking to Nikola Tesla, or you're talking to Mother Teresa, or you're talking to Mary Magdalene, or you're talking to Copernicus, or you're talking to Mary Jo Smith. It doesn't need to be validated. It needs to be accepted. I mean, who else are you going to trust besides you? And let me give one thing out there to the collective before we depart. The burden of trust to place upon another is truly obtuse to yourself. Why would you ever trust another? Do you think they need to perform within the box of your limits? Because there is a measurement of trusting another because you've given your heart to them in the decree of love? Love is never conditioned. Love is unconditional. So if you have fallen in love, you do not need to place your trust upon them. You need to allow them to discover themselves. It is that of the idea of a Garden of Eden. If you were in an idea of this beautiful Garden of Eden, would there be rules? Why? Can not a child go run and play in this Garden of Eden that you provide because you don't need to trust them to perform? You trust yourself and allow them into your reality for the experience and unconditional evolution of you as you allow them to be the same. So do not burden another with the trust. Trust you and you alone, because there's no one else except you and your singular point of view. And whatever is in your reality is your match, so fear nothing, masters. And if it is the idea of polarized, then embrace it. If it is the idea of fear, in the here and the now, if you're alive having that experience, then there is no fear. Fear lies in time. And just keep trusting the journey of choice and discover yourself through the journey of truths. And the outcome, if you want to measure something, is simply love. Oh, yes, truly. I think this is all that we have. I shall return you to Miss Roxanne. Are you okay with that?
We are okay with
Yes,
that.
thank you for your time.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. We bid you a good evening. Whew. I had like 3 or 4 go through there. Hey, guys, how are you?
I would say there might have been more than that. That was.
I'm losing count. They were like, mine now. No, they're just praying.
Roxanne,
Hey, baby, how are you?
when you have that experience, I know that you call yourself a conscious channel, meaning you're very much in the throes of it with everybody else. And how does this information flow through you? Is it simply cognizant or?
Without effort. All I do is just go. And I don't think, I don't react, I just allow it, and I match my frequency, and then me and the speaker become this extensions of ourselves. So if I'm like Channel Osiphus, it's like Roxy and Osiphus blending. Make sense? We become this unified. I have my experience about the vibration that's passing through me. And then I get out of my way, I guess, is the best thing. I don't interrupt it. I don't think about it. I just let it go, and whatever comes.
Were you ever at a point during this time of awakening to this, I guess, new way of living than before? Did you ever have struggle with that process of channeling and bringing these entities through, or was it always effortless for you?
At the beginning, I had doubts, because what they were saying was not matching what I had learned in the idea. But then I had the, the forgive the term balls, to not worry about what the outcome was. Although the human side of wanted to worry about it. But me, I was like, let it go. Let's see where it goes. And then it always showed a truth beyond the truth that I was. And then I realized, okay, that's right. We're evolving here. But without truth, we can't climb. Bashar said it like 30-something years ago. He wrote in a little idea. It was transcribed. The Daryl Anchor Bashar, it says, you're climbing rungs of the ladder. When you hold on to a truth that's in time and there's another truth above you, climb it. Let go of that rung so you can realize more of you. So I had doubts at the beginning, but they weren't for very long, maybe like a month or so. But then after that, I was getting so much validation, within. And then it was like, boom. And then I just let it rip. And then, here we are. Hi.
Which entities came through this session?
There was Ichabod, there was Buford, there was this, I don't know, some professor-looking dude. He didn't give a name, really. And then the speaker at the very beginning, but I didn't get. Sometimes they don't give names. They're just vibrations. But I get pictures of them sometimes. Sometimes I know it's an incarnation or it's just a vibratory state. And like the professor idea was like, it was a human professor that was on Earth at one time. But remember, the human side of them is gone. That's transcended. That's just an echo of them. They're really the creator behind them. But they represent that frequency on the human mat. So I get pictures of them, in a 1920s classroom scenario at some Ivy League, talking to an audience of of students that rises up above him with a chalkboard in a gray slate table or something. I get that whole picture, and that's him speaking. It's pretty cool.
And
That's really cool.
There was a fairy consciousness that came through as well.
Buford.
That was Buford.
Yes, yeah.
Buford is an absolute adorable, reckless nutbag. He is so irrational. I love him. He absolutely rips it up. He just loves it. He was the one that told us about the plastic eating bacteria. He goes, relax, guys. You guys created a plastic eating bacteria on your planet. Do you think that Gaia is going to just let you guys destroy it? Gaia can't be destroyed. Gaia has experienced the transcendence of herself through co-creation. And if we view glitter and stuff, and look, guys, I'm not saying, I recycle because that's my truth. But I'm not saying don't just go out and litter either, because, don't be an ego about it. Be a truth about it, whatever your truth is, and transcend it. So I can't get worried about what we're doing to the planet because Gaia is a creator, not a victim. So I represent the truth about that, but I can't get upset about it at the idea that I got to go out and start a ban on plastics and start another protest, because then I'm taking creation and I'm slanting in an objective point of view that says negativity, and therefore I'm on a bandwagon of positivity, and the only thing I'm doing is reinforcing the human polarity realm, and I'm not here to do that. I'm here to transcend it, so I'm in complete acceptance of what's going on. And Buford pointed that out, and he says humans make messes, and we clean them up. We don't care. We're not there to clean up as the cleanup crew, but it is part of the interaction to dynamic that. So we go through and we co-created plastic eating bacteria. Ta-da!
Man, and that can be tough, though, if we're being honest, to find that, healthy, I wouldn't even call it a healthy dose, but just to find that balance of acceptance and still action through personal truth and unattachment to.
And remember real quick, if it's not necessarily a balance, if you don't look at it as a balance, because then you're not structured to the idea of what is balance. And of course, your balance is your own personal taste, your own personal balance. If you don't use balance and you use the now, you discover the truth and you be that truth. And when that truth is done, you let go of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Here, let's look at real quick. Let's look at Sarah makes a choice. Sarah makes a choice, and Sarah creates a new self after that choice. So self A said, okay, I'm going to do this. And then self B realized, shit, I shouldn't have done that. So now you regret self A. And then you have to learn lessons, and then you become the human of measurement. But how about this? Self A makes a choice. Self B sees the truth of self A as no longer the truth of self B. Is that not evolution? That's evolving. So, thank you for making that choice, Sarah A. Without that, I'm not realized as me. Perfect. Now I'm this. And I continue the journey of truth without fear. Because if I dumb myself down to the preludes of humanity standards, I'm going to be a human the whole time. I'm not a human. I'm creating a human dynamic. I'm creating from a standpoint of a creator. And if I am the creator to remember myself through the idea of separation, what greater gift is that? And I have to do it my way because I can't do it anyone else's way. Look around, guys. Everyone else's way doesn't work. All the things that we've told work don't work. They work for one, but not all. That's how we have to be. We have to be all. We are all by each one being our truth. So if you look at the ultimate truth, I think it was in the Conversations of God during Neil Donald Walsh's book, the ultimate truth is the eye of the beholder, or the ultimate truth is that you are your ultimate truth. Each person is their truth. It's not the way, it's your way. And you got to be okay with you. And then, you make a couple of decisions, a couple of choices, and people go, I shouldn't have done that. I regret. How do you regret something of your own truth of discovery? Embrace it. Embrace your evolution. Embrace your journey. That's why I named my business Odyssey of Ascension, the epic voyage of ascending. Take the journey and don't be afraid of you, because you are so beautiful, so bright, and so unmeasured. You have no idea what you're worth. until you take the journey. I'm getting so excited about doing this.
It's the unfolding. It's the unfolding.
Oh, yes.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
And it's so awesome how awesome I am. I mean, I really freaking love me, and I keep falling in love more with me every day because I'm so awesome. Without reason. I just feel good. I don't try to be happy anymore. Why would I realize I'm happy without trying to be happy? I just had to take away the ideas that said I'm sad, said I'm upset, said I'm angry, said I'm mediocre, said I'm run-of-the-mill, said I'm successful, said I'm hopeful. Everything that said I was this, that image to portray, only to transcend those realizes my happiness is beyond polarity, and you know what it is? It's a natural state of awareness. Booyah!
So it's in the pursuit of trying that we actually are suppressing who we truly are.
It's because you're trying off a construct of someone else's belief system that would lead you down a road to success. And once you gain that success, you have to have the outside validation to achieve that success, to acceptance of them. Even if your own self-worth of accomplishment, it's gone in a second, isn't it?
Yep.
And so I say, okay, now what? And then you continue the idea of keeping the ego alive through the constructs of whatever democracy you find important. And it could be success, it could be failure, it could be homelessness, it could be rich. It doesn't matter what it is. But if you stop trying and start being, you're going to see something you've never absolutely could not believe it's there right in front of you the whole time. It's you.
And it's all perfect.
Oh yeah. Like
that's our mantra.
Everything
is perfect.
We look at each other every day and remind ourselves, hey, it's all perfect. Everything.
Even when it's a shit storm and you feel like absolute shit, it is perfect.
It is. And you go through that and you get really, really angry about things and you get upset about it and you're like, oh, and then you're going, God, why did I do this to myself? And you're MFing yourself and you're going, you're a dick, I know, and then you get it. And then you get it by accepting it, and then the pain's gone and you transcend it. And then you just realize you get to do this. You get to be on the existence side of things, and you get to have this life. And this life is immeasurable. Takes a while, though.
Well, thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Roxanne,
You're welcome.
for sharing your story, sharing the channeling experience, sharing just you in your authentic form. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
We'll see you.
Yeah.
And where we want to make sure that people can continue to follow. I know you have a presence on YouTube. You do have a website. If you want to talk about that for a second.
It's Odyssey of Ascension, ODYSSEY of Ascension, ASCENSION. I know it's kind of weird, but Odyssey of Ascension. I have a YouTube channel and there's a website, and that's it. And of course, I'm on Facebook. Roxanne Swainhart, friend me. Say hi. I was okay. And, reach out if you ever want to connect and talk, shoot the shit, whatever. I'm here.
Love it.
Love it.
Thank you.
You're welcome, guys. Anything else? That's it?
That is it.
That is it. We may be bringing you on again in the future for some more rabbit holes.
I love the rabbit holes.
As do we. Have a beautiful night.
And that's that. I hope you guys received the information, and it might take some time to integrate. Let's remember to give us space to integrate. It's important. Sometimes we don't always understand the words that we hear, but we feel them resonate with our being. And that integration process requires time and space to be with ourselves in quiet, and of course with others sharing this information.
And lastly, guys, we encourage you to head on over to Apple Podcasts to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. It definitely helps us a lot, really helps us grow the show. And we really, again, appreciate all of your support through this. And of course, if you like any of our episodes, you can tag us on social media. Tag us on Instagram at Soul and Wonder Love or on Facebook at Soul and Wonder. Until next time, we will talk to you soon.
Of all the sounds you'll hear this summer,
Cannonball!
this might be your new favorite. They're blending up the new chocolate chip iced cap at Tim Hortons. Real chocolate chips blended into an iced cap for a sweet summer treat. It's Tim Hortons' frozen take on a cappuccino, and it just might be the best sound of summer. Hurry into Tim Hortons for the new chocolate chip iced cap. Limited time at participating restaurants. Of all the sounds you'll hear this summer,
Cannonball!
this might be your new favorite. They're blending up the new chocolate chip iced cap at Tim Hortons. Real chocolate chips blended into an iced cap for a sweet summer treat. It's Tim Hortons' frozen take on a cappuccino, and it just might be the best sound of summer. Hurry into Tim Hortons for the new chocolate chip iced cap. Limited time at participating restaurants.